Bola Ogunshaki. Let's go straight to the front pages of the dailies and starting with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with businesses suffocating as energy costs shoot skyward, up 41% to 635 billion naira. Its second biggest problem after forex. That's according to Muda Yusuf. High energy cost crippling operations. That's coming from Okomo Oil MD. 98% rise in our selling and distribution expenses due to diesel costs. That's coming from Boa Foods. Implement power sector eligible customer initiative. That's coming from X-Man Boss, as it tells the federal government that. And on page 9, operators blame low generation as rationing persists nationwide. Now on page 5, hunger. If federal government fails to secure farmers, food prices will remain high. That's according to FACAN. Fresh suit asks court to deregister Labour Party and back candidates. My husband won't be distracted by current challenges. That's according to Oluwemi Tinubu, as she reassures. And on page 16, Lakefa says, my conclusion was that the Tinubu administration intends to introduce tuition fees into public tertiary institution through the back door. African Games, gold rain for Team Nigeria. You can see that on page 29. Sport, stories above the banner, Monday interview, State of the Nation. We can't continue like this. That's according to Professor Okonkwo. Edo Guba, our Edo South leaders, Obaseki Godalo agreed on PDP running mate. You can see that on page 23. Muslims begin Ramadan fast today. NAS padded 2024 budget by 1.2 trillion naira, not Tinubu. You can see that on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Away from there, we move to the Nation. Nation is leading with presidency slams senator over budget pardon claims. 3 North senators kick. Here there's a statement. It says the mix-up was created by Ningi. The appropriation bill signed into the act on January 1st, 2024 is 28.7 trillion naira and not 25 trillion naira as claimed by him. You can see that story on page 4. Now on page 4 still, PENCOM doing the federal government 10 trillion naira loan. Agency not back, says Director General. Disco explains blackout in Kwara or your Ogun. 40,000 Ogun farmers get lift. You can see that on page 6 and 3. Stories above the banner. CBN screens banks financial report for infractions. You can see that on page 5. Foreign investors pump $823 million into forex market. Lastly, on the Nation newspaper, Sultan pronounces today as first day of Ramadan month. You can see that on page 29. Now the Punch newspaper. Punch is leading with schools in 14 states. FCT risk attack, says federal government. Adamawa, Bauchi, Borno, Katsina, FCT, others affected. 465 pupils, women in kidnappers' den. Federal government receiving United States support to free victims. Presidency alerts sub-regional forces behind kidnappings. You can see that on page 2. Ogun police nab 3 for murder attempt. Blackhouse worsens at Woodlum's vandalized transmission line. Oil earnings rise by 450 billion naira in 2 months. That's according to federal government. Stories above the banner. Only foreign borrowing can save naira, clear CBN debt. Naira devaluation fueling massive regional exports. This coming from governors. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper, Tinubu launches student loan Thursday. Foreign scholars seek inclusion. You can see that on page 43 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies this morning. Join us after the break for the analysis. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Today the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damola Ogunshaki. Joining us to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Mr. Ali Mohammed. He's the CEO of Magnet Communications, former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspaper. Good morning, Mr. Ali.
Good morning, Damilola. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. And today is the first day of the Ramadan. How do you feel about it?
And well, we thank God for life, that we are alive, we are starting it in good health. I pray that those of us who are witnessing the beginning of Ramadan will see the end and many more in years to come. Amen.
Amen. Let's move straight to the stories on the front pages this morning. We are starting with the story of the electricity. Well, major companies in Nigeria, they've spent about 635.2 billion naira on power generation and utilization in 2023. Amidst the rise in energy cost and its attendant impact on businesses. Industrialists and financial experts, they said that the persistent hike in the prices of petroleum products as well as the poor public power supply nationwide have pushed up the cost of production and is adversely impacting businesses' competitiveness and sustainability. What do you think about this?
Well, that is a fact. Almost all factories are shutting down. There is no power. There is no cheap diesel anymore. You know how much a liter of diesel costs now? Over 1,500 a liter. It is crazy. It is crazy. A friend of mine who is into manufacturing called me last week and said he has shut down his plants due to lack of power and high cost of diesel. I can imagine what other production companies are going through in a country where there is no light almost 24 hours of the day, and we have a minister of power in place who keep addressing press conferences daily to give excuses about people sabotaging his effort, about people sabotaging power generation. Who are those people sabotaging power generation that are above the government of the day? We have policemen, we have secret policemen, SSS, we have the Nigerian Army, we have the Air Force, we have the Navy, we have the National Security Intelligence Service. None of them can identify these faceless people who are sabotaging power generation. It is unfortunate that we keep hearing all these excuses every day. Something must give way. It is either the Minister of Power resigns and we look for a more competent person. I cannot be in charge of such an important industry and be coming out with excuses that people are sabotaging government effort at generating enough power. It's unacceptable as far as I'm concerned, because without power you can't sleep well at night. You can't use your gadgets, you can't use your fan, you can't use your AC. You have to buy petrol. Every day you have to buy petrol. I do that daily too. I have an inverter. The inverter is virtually useless because we can't charge it. You have to charge an inverter to get it working. The same thing with there is a company in Nigeria today that I go there usually. They can no longer afford to buy diesel. You know what they did? They bought 10 kVA petrol generators, like 20, to power their equipment. Yet the cost of petrol keep rising daily. Is that a positive or negative development? It is sad. If a country cannot generate its own power, that means that country is not ready for true industrialization. So many factories, so many production companies are shutting down and relocating to Ghana. Ghana. Bata is in Ghana. Michelin is in Ghana. Dunlop, they have an operating plant in Ghana. All these are all factories that have left Nigeria. Are we going or receding? Government must find a solution to power generation. I believe the fault is within that sector. There are some people that don't want the country to generate enough power so that they can sell their generators. Government must get to the root of this matter. I cannot lay this blame on government's inability. What is there in generating power? I don't know why the minister keep talking about being sabotaged in the process of trying to generate enough power. So that sector must be thoroughly investigated and be sure that they are not complicit in this situation.
All right, Brother Yusuf of CPP said that the grid should be decentralized, saying the country is too big to rely on a single grid. Is decentralizing the
It is already decentralized. We have a thermal station in the west. We have Shiroro Dam somewhere in the north. We have Ashejire Dam in Oyo State. So it is not the issue is not about decentralization. Power is not being generated from a part of the country. Power is generated all around the country. But the thing is that the generation is transmitted into the national grid from where it feeds the entire country. That clears the issue of decentralization. The truth of the matter is that there is a high level of incompetence on the part of those charged with the responsibility of generating power. Two, there is also the issue of sabotage. Those saboteurs, government must get them by all means. They don't want power to be generated enough that people will stop using generators, and government must get to the root of the matter. It is not a matter of today. When Buhari was in power, we had a level of stabilization in power generation. That is the truth. They try it with every government, but this government must take a step to identify the so-called saboteurs. They are not spirits, they are all human beings. We keep talking about saboteurs. Look at the other day, people went to Kaduna to kidnap 250 students from a school in that state. How are these people moved? How easy is it to move 250 people, kidnapped people, and they pass through security roadblocks?
Mr. Ali will come to that. Let's still talk about this economy. And the Brown Fruit PLC, when they released their 2023 earnings, noted that the surge in energy costs resulted in increase in cost of sales, selling and distribution expenses, as well as the total operating cost. Also, the CEO of Lafarge Africa noted that the company's performance 2023 was also largely impacted by the spiraling inflation and also with the pressure on energy costs and the supply chain. Now, this definitely is what is affecting the increase in things.
All this, talking about power generation and all those excuses, they are talking about semantics. They are not being realistic. What does it take to generate power? You have a dam and some other equipments. So if you have problem with equipment, say it. You don't have to put money in the dam or cash in the dam for you to generate power. Every day I recharge almost once or twice in a month. If you recharge today, you discover that the quantity of megawatts that you are given keep reducing due to increase in the cost of power almost every month. Is it my fault to pay for the offenses of others who are not doing well at their various areas of responsibility? It is unfortunate that we are being made to pay for what we are not enjoying. The government should be serious. All these excuses are mere semantics, and they are not acceptable to me. In a serious environment, in 60, how many years are we now as an independent nation? We cannot generate our power. And ordinary Nigerian Republic, they are generating power and we are even selling power to them. Ghana is generating its power without relying on any country. It is unfortunate that we keep getting all these excuses daily. What have we done to deserve this wickedness from people that have been appointed to be in charge of important aspects of the country's existence? You keep getting excuses. We are tired of getting excuses. It is high time people appointed to various positions of government sit up and do their best to ensure this country stabilizes. The people are hungry. They can't get food. You can't get light to sleep at night. You can't get light to operate your companies. You can't get light to operate your factories. Then why are we here? I won't blame anybody that says he's going out of the country, even though things are also not stable in those countries. But at least they have 24 hours power supply. So what is wrong with us? People should stop giving excuses and do what they have been appointed to do. If you are bringing investors to Nigeria and we are talking about making provision for the purchase of generators running into billions of naira, they will laugh at you. I was once involved in an attempt to do waste recycling in the states in Nigeria. And we were telling these investors from Spain that in Nigeria we don't have stable power supply. We have to spend so much on generators. They were laughing that this amount of money that we have voted for power and generators is enough to run the company for 5 years. That was what they told us. With stable electricity, this amount that you guys have earmarked for generators and it's running for 1 year is enough to run the company for 5 years. And from there, they started losing interest till today. We had gone to Spain to inspect their equipment. They were able to bring in the equipment free. But when we got to the brass tags and we showed them the figures that we will require to start here and the figures that we gave for power generation and sustenance was far more than the figures against other things that we required. They laughed at us. This figure is enough to run the entire system for 5 years. That is the level that we have sunken into in Nigeria. We need to get it right. I pity the president each time I hear him talk about people coming to invest in Nigeria, because they won't come. You are flying into Nigeria from abroad and you are in the plane, you see darkness all over. You won't be impressed. Whereas if you are landing in other parts of the world, you see light everywhere. You will be impressed. So if you put Nigeria on the scale with other countries, investors will rather go to other countries with light than come to Nigeria that is in total darkness every day.
Let's move away from that and still talk about the hunger crisis in the country and the governors of the 36 states under the aegis of Nigerian Governors Forum, that's NGF. They said that they're on top of the situation to address issues of food crisis, economic hardship, and hunger in the country, and they've introduced different strategies and measures. For example, the Akwa Ibom state government, they are planning to establish an agency which will buy food items in bulk and then sell them at cheaper prices to the residents. We also have Yobe State, Bauchi State, the Niger State governors. They've all come up with different strategies.
Their reaction is laughable. In those days, when we were growing, I grew up in Ibadan. We used to have Western States Produce Board. What was the main duty of the Western Produce Board? Western Produce Board was working with the Western Region Farm Settlement somewhere in Ogun State. They employed youth to farm and they gave them accommodation on the farm. They will buy up all the products from that farm and sell them to the public at very reasonable prices. That was under the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Then we didn't have the problem of hunger. But look at Nigeria today. All we hear is big figures, big amount of money in trillions. when they are presenting their budget. Go to the cities of Nigeria today, almost you see people begging, people who are young enough to engage in serious employment. They can't get jobs. So many graduates. I laughed last week when I read the number of lawyers that were turned out by the law school. Where will they get jobs from? Not all of them will have the money to start private practice, which is the best for any lawyer. But where are the job opportunities? They are not there. If you get employed in state civil service, you will get salary for 3 years, 3 or 4 months. Some of them are being paid 1 year salary in some states of Nigeria. So we need to create a lot of employments for graduates. We have a lot of graduates that are unemployed. They don't have to engage in government jobs. Give them opportunities to start their own things, their own businesses. Give them loans. Not that a state government will collect 30 billion as a monthly allocation and use half of it to buy forex, to trade, make plenty of money before releasing the money for government jobs. That is the situation we have in Nigeria today. People collecting government money, using them to buy forex. That is why we have the exchange rate at where it is today. State governments collecting government money and using it to trade, round tripping. It is unfortunate that we have this kind of thing and nobody is able to solve the problem. People should start questioning the activities of their state governors in Nigeria. Let the state governors know that they are being monitored. Their activities are being monitored. The federal government will release funds to state government. The governors will sit on it and use it to trade, make a lot of money from it before expending it on what has to do with the state.
Okay, but Mr. Lee, we are talking about some of the strategies that they are saying that now for Yobe State, they are banning bulk purchases of grains from local markets, and that will stop ordering and export across Nigeria. Niger State governor said that they announced a ban on mass purchase of foodstuffs.
They are just making noise. The only state that has taken a proactive step against hunger in Nigeria today is Lagos State by creating that market in Mushin.
That's the same thing that Akwa Ibom is trying to do.
But they should do it like the way Lagos State has done it. So you get to that Mushin place, you have enough car park. There is a limit to what you can buy. When people suspect that you want to buy to go and resell, they won't allow it. So if Lagos State government can do that all over the local governments in the state, and I want to appeal to Lagos State government to make that market available not only on Saturdays but at least 3 times a week. It will solve a lot of problems in Lagos.
What of the fact that Niger State they've ordered the security forces to confiscate trucks?
The security forces are looking for money. Just this morning, as I was coming here, I was not on the fast lane. What do you call this other lane? Service lane. One last young man came to my phone and said, I came in through BRT. I said I was never on that lane. Your eyes seeing double. I said, you are sorry, sir. All the security men are looking for what to eat. By involving them in this situation, it will become complicated. What they can do is to set up places where food can be bought easily. There is never a single policeman at the Mushin market of the Lagos State government. You can't find one single policeman there. Last night, everybody. People drive in there, buy whatever they can buy at reasonable. Can you imagine that you can get watermelon for 1,000? It is available there. Can you imagine that you can get pineapple for 1,002? Sizable one. It's available there. Don't mind me advertising the place, but this is what I have seen. And I am begging Lagos State government to replicate that in all the local governments in the state. We will be on our way to checking hunger in this state. And if all the other governments follow suit, then we will be talking about people buying things at expensive rates.
I guess I'll also talk about my 12 market. It's also, the price is also reasonable. All right, let's move on and talk about the insecurity in the country. Well, against the backdrop of the resurgence of the mass adoption of pupils, the federal government has said in 14 states and the FCT Abuja, they are at risk of attack by bandits and insurgents. And according to Aija Alimu Ilaya, he confirmed that the data of at-risk schools have been collected for intervention, and they're saying that no fewer than 465 pupils, teachers, and women abducted in the past week are still in the custody of their captors.
It is unfortunate that we have this situation. I have always said it before now, since the kidnap of people, I mean, in which part of the country then? The first kidnap that we had, I had always suggested that we have security men in all schools in the northern states. But unfortunately, people still go on as if nothing had happened. A total of 250 students were kidnapped at one fell swoop. How were they moved? Were they moved in a bus? Were they put on motorcycles? So much that no single army officer, no single police officer saw the movement, not to talk of reacting. When you sit down and talk about sabotage, there is nothing more than sabotage than what happened in Kaduna State and all other northern states. I can read the hands and the involvement of security men in this. I am saying this bluntly. That's a state that has been under siege, and police and soldiers have been put on red alert, and yet we had such a dastardly act in that state without the security forces doing anything. That incident must be thoroughly investigated. It's like saying that Lagos Abuja Road now, that is known for kidnap, and policemen are supposed to be there with soldiers, and such a thing happened on that road without the security men knowing. It is unfortunate. We have to be serious about quelling insecurity here to avoid a situation where one day the federal capital itself will be attacked. We've been having that kind of attack lately around satellite towns in the federal capital. It is not a joke. We must be serious about curtailing. The US has offered to help us. The earlier we accept the offer of the United States of America to help us, the better. Because when you know that you are overwhelmed by a situation and you get an offer for assistance, I think we should accept that kind of offer.
All right, let's set this on a lighter note this morning with Mr. and Mrs. And the first person speaking today is Mrs. Mrs. says we rejected the Ashoibi because of colors. One has subsidy red, another under gray, and the other shaded black. And Mr. says, so which did you settle for? Mrs. replied, palliative purple.
Everybody wants palliative now. It's unfortunate.
Nobody wants shaggy under or something.
Everybody wants palliative. Even me, I want money too. Don't forget about my suit and the way I look. Everybody wants money now because you have to buy. I've had to be buying petrol every other day to run the generator in the house. I have to buy petrol for my office to run the generator in my house. I have to buy petrol to run my car. You can imagine how much goes on the purchase of petrol alone every week. It is huge. If you look at that with the cost of food, I'm not talking, I don't want to buy any clothes, just sustain your family. It is huge. So government must do something about what is going on in the country.
Well, people are even talking the noodles generation can't even afford noodles again.
I have a one girl in the house who eat noodles. The price has gone up so badly. And we have no choice but to buy, because she will tell you that I want noodles. And once you want it, she wants it. She doesn't want to know how much you are buying it.
That one is left for you. Then I want noodles. I want noodles.
Yes.
According to them, many people are also changing their children's diets and also changing diet.
That is those who have the option. Those of us of us that can. That's what the young girl eats. She takes noodles to school. She at least every week 3 times.
Wow. So we need to applaud you. Thank you for joining us this morning. Yes, do like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You can also visit our website www.vanguardangel.com to get more of our top stories. My name is Damola Okunshaki.